Well, good morning again, everybody. I must say, I do enjoy talking to you and meeting with you like this on a Sunday morning. And I must say that as an audience, you are the most delightful group of people I think I've ever met. It is as a collective. And the comments are intelligent, and I really do look forward to this time with you. I read everything that you say, and I consider it. And in time, everything will get answered. So for today, I thought I would tell you another short leopard story. These are true tales of my African adventures. May this inspire you, deter you, caution you, and above all, entertain you. Leopards are fascinating creatures. You know, I've had interactions with them and have raised a leopard. And I'm fond of them. But I'm also very wary of leopards because under the wrong circumstances, you can be taken out in a flash. I think I remember the time I told you about an American who had come to Africa to shoot, and one of the animals on his list was a leopard, and he managed to wound a young leopard, and it attacked him. And he was a big chap. He was about 7 feet tall by all accounts. He grabbed the leopard in a bear hug, holding it against his body to try and minimize the damage. And his comment afterwards, he survived, but he was severely mauled. His comment afterwards was that holding onto that leopard was like holding onto a chainsaw. And I can tell you that is a very good description. So whilst I was up near the Botswana border at one stage of my short military career, we had to go to a very beautiful area. It's called the Rooikransberge. So the Rooikransberge are in the Waterberg, which is a World Heritage Site. It's a beautiful mountain range, full of wildlife. There was a colony of vultures right below the radar station, the radar repeater station. It had to be guarded because it would send signals from our other camp near Botswana down to Pretoria. And what it was looking for all the time is for evidence of Russian MiGs entering our airspace. We had started a war. Well, we hadn't started it, we were defending. And this war grew in intensity eventually, and some very large and fierce battles, which probably will never be known about, were fought in some time after this period. But the MiGs were there, and they occasionally came into our airspace. So we had to guard the radar station because already we had had an attempt on one of our radar stations to blow it up. So myself and 4 colleagues were tasked to guard this one for 14 days. There'd be rotation. So it was right near the edge of the cliff. And during the day, the views were unparalleled. At night, the stars, well, you just have never seen anything like that in your life. There was no light pollution, so it was just like a city of stars. And they were very beautiful to look at. Well, we had 2 Dobermans, and they patrolled inside this double fence, at a very high fence. It was about, I would say, 15 feet high, each fence, and there was a wide space between them, barbed wire, razor wire. And the Dobermans lived inside the fence. The idea was that if somebody cut the wire or climbed over and got into the space between the fences, the Dobermans would bark. We, of course, all had automatic weapons to defend ourselves, and we had a drill that if they barked, the lights went off. We had a means of leaving the building through different doors with our rifles, and there were boulders all over the place, and we knew which boulder to go to, etc., and where we would take a look to see if there was 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 insurgents in between the fence, and then we knew what we had to do if we did see somebody. Anyway, we had spent, I don't know, I guess about 10 days, when one evening, it was quite late and we were very relaxed. You know, there wasn't much to do there. They didn't give you much to do. So there wasn't a library with Shakespeare or anything like that, where they had about 100 magazines, sort of girly magazines. They weren't very lewd, the magazines, but they weren't very kosher either. So you didn't get a lot of food for your mind, I can tell you. But because there was nothing else, one looked at these stupid magazines. And the adverts, even the adverts became interesting eventually. And we chatted, you know, but, you know, how much can you chat? You know, you learn about a person's life in a short space of time, and then there's not much more to do unless he remembers something he forgot to tell you the last time. It's amazing what you can do when you get bored. Anyway, so there we were sitting quite late at night, and usually, as usual, reading these pathetic magazines, when suddenly the Dobermans started barking. Now at night they could come out of the fence area and they could come to the bungalow where we were. They could do that. We arranged it like that, just so they could get a sort of a change of scene and come and say hello to us, but they would always be going back in. They started barking. And we never expected to ever have this happen. So the first thing was we shot bolt upright, ran for the light switch, hit the switch, grabbed our rifles, broke the seals. We had to have seals in our rifles at that time, on our magazines, which we had to break, just to make sure that there were no shooting accidents. Broke the seals, clicked the magazine into the rifle, put a round into the chamber, exited our respective doors. As we exited the doors, the dogs ran in and hid under the beds. And we thought, oh my God, we are in for something here. If the dogs are scared, we better be scared. So we couldn't see anything. We couldn't see anything. We thought maybe the men, the terrorists, the insurgents are lying low. Maybe there are a lot of them. We just didn't know what to expect. Eventually I leopard crawled back to the bungalow, into the bungalow, and went to one of the dogs and tried to get him out from under the bed. He would not budge. He had his paws on top of his head. And I looked, and the other one was exactly the same. Paws on top of their head, shivering, and they would not budge from underneath the bed. I thought, this is chronic. This is absolutely chronic. So I went, leopard crawled back outside, and we sat there, and we sat there, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited. Hour after hour, nothing took place. Eventually, the dogs came out. We thought, well, hang on, if the dogs come out, the danger must be gone. So we decided we need to go and investigate now, and we would remain armed. One would go in with the dogs, so the others would be ready in case any shooting erupted. And it was now starting to get light, so we could see. So I went first, rifle on the ready, and followed the dogs, and the dogs had their noses to the ground, sniffing away, and then they stopped. And they were looking down on the ground and sniffing, and I looked down. What was there? Leopard tracks. Huge leopard tracks. And that's what had happened. A leopard had come over the fence. How he got over that high fence, we do not know. It must have taken a jump and then grabbed the wire, pulled itself over. There was no blood anywhere, so it obviously hadn't injured itself on the wire. And he was after the dogs. It's well known that leopards like eating dogs. He'd probably been eyeing them up for a snack for a long time. And this was the occasion where he decided to go and grab himself a dog. And these leopard tracks were all over the place. We could see how he had jumped over. He had run towards the gate they ran out of. So he was actually pretty close to getting them, or one of them. But when we started to throw the light switch and open the doors, cock our rifles, and so on, the leopard probably realized we were onto him, which we weren't, and then went out the way he came. So the mystery was solved. The dogs were safe. We didn't have a firefight. Radioed back to the mother camp, explained the whole situation to them, and put it all to bed. End of story. Hey, by the way, I do have Patreon, so you can join me there too.